to the VedaFoods Health Show with Dr. J. Apte. And today we're going to be talking about grains. What grains are good for you, why it's important to eat grains that have fiber in it, and why it's so important to eat grains that are more on the low glycemic index so we can keep our sugar balanced. So welcome, Dr. J.
Thank you, Carly. I always feel excited during this show.
I know, I do too. I get so excited about our topics. I get very passionate. So there's a lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding about grains. And so I'd like today to discuss that. And so first thing I'd like to ask you, because this is a huge topic, what is Ayurvedic's thoughts, if you will, on gluten-free?
Okay, so mainly gluten is the protein in some of the grains, especially the wheat. Okay, but people around the world are eating wheat for so many years, and they were consuming also this gluten, which is kind of the protein in the wheat, which is good for the body. But what happens because of the GMOs and all, they have increased the proportion of that protein in the wheat, and that's why it is kind of in multiples of protein in the wheat, which people cannot digest. Many times people always complain about this gluten has become the cause of many problems, health issues and all that. And now everybody is talking about gluten free. But not everybody should be gluten free at all, because gluten also is a good protein in the grain. We are always looking for all the grains which are having complex carb and some protein and some vitamins and minerals in it. So more of these nutrients food has or any grain has, it is good for our body. So this is kind of always a misconception that everybody should be eating a gluten-free diet. What I think, it is kind of the wave, and within like few months or years you will start seeing that no, we are blaming gluten a whole lot, and people are actually, the research and the reports are coming out that gluten is not the culprit in most of the diseases.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because the more research I've done, it actually says that people only should be on gluten-free if they have celiac disease, because those people really have an issue. However, the majority of people don't understand, like you said, the GMO products and what's happening with the wheat. And so I think we just need to be more observant of the products that we buy. Are they non-GMO? And the other thing, I'd love to just put this in here because it's so important. A lot of people buy gluten-free and don't read the ingredients. And if you look at the ingredients of gluten-free products, most of them are not pure products. There's, there's tons of hidden sugars, a lot of rice, which is very high glycemic, not low glycemic. And so the reality is people are eating to release weight, right, if you will, reduce their calories. However, they're really getting potato starch. They're getting a lot of non-healthy ingredients in their gluten-free, unless they read the ingredients and find a high quality, clean quality gluten-free product.
It is very important to know all this information, because people just go for the label. It's like a fat-free. It is gluten-free. And if it is gluten-free, it is good for me. But they should be reading all what goes in actually those foods, because they have to have something in it, in those food contains. And when you say gluten-free, then there are some, as you mentioned to me, the rice or any bleached products and all those flours are there which are not good for the body. So people really have to read the ingredients and really have to see what actually goes in the package. That is very important.
So now I'd like to get to grains. And I'd like to separate grains, meaning I'd love for you to give us a list of grains that are more highly beneficial, that may be more low glycemic, and also have fiber. And before we even get there, because I know we're going to be discussing fiber, can you explain what the difference is between soluble fiber and unsoluble fiber? Because we're still going to be talking about fibers, a lot of people have no clue about that as well.
Okay, so let's talk first about the grain, the whole grain. It is very important that people should be consuming more whole grain and not just the processed flours and all. Because what happens in the processing, They remove all the bran, they remove all the fiber, they remove all the nutrients, even vitamins and minerals. And what you get is just the processed flour, which is not very healthy for your body because you're removing, you're throwing all the good stuff in the trash. And that's why eating whole grain is very, very important. Let me also tell you why processing is so bad. For example, Carl, if you're eating like a whole apple and you're chewing that apple and you're noticing the texture and you're enjoying the sweetness of that apple and you know the flavor and the juiciness and all that, so your digestion actually starts in the mouth, and that one whole apple will kind of fill you up for a long period of time. Along with it, also you are eating some fiber, and that will kind of slow down your digestion. But when you're drinking like a juice, fruit juice, for example, there are a lot of added sugars in it. Your body doesn't have to digest because it is already broken down into the tiniest of the particles. So it just rises your blood sugar very quickly and it spikes your blood sugar. So all that processing is not good. Your digestive system has to do all the processing. It's very important. So you eat all those whole grains and let your body digest, because all your digestive enzymes are so powerful that they will digest all these good stuff, all the nutrients and the vitamins and minerals and all those things, and it will nourish your body. And main important thing is they will slowly are digested, so your blood sugar rises very gently. It doesn't spike up, and that is the problem with most of the processed foods. Then the second question you asked me about talking about insoluble fiber and soluble fiber. First thing, insoluble or soluble fiber is very important for our body, because you may feel that if body doesn't digest it, why do we need that fiber if it is insoluble? But it gives like a good gut for our toxins or the waste to remove from the body. So people who eat very processed food, they many times suffer from constipation, where all the waste are not removed from the body. So the insoluble fiber, which our digestive enzyme cannot digest that fiber, that insoluble fiber gives the bulk to our stools, and along with that fiber, it removes all the toxins from the body, which is very, very important. And since we are talking about removing this waste, people have to have good bowel movement at least once a day, not once in a week. Because people always think that, yeah, I go once a week, it is good habit. It's not. Like we eat every day, we have to eliminate every day too. And then only your body is going to be in the healthy state. So that having good bowel movement is a very healthy way of cleansing our system. Second thing we mentioned about the soluble fiber. There are two fibers. One is insoluble, second is soluble. That means you have digestive enzymes which can digest that fiber. Body can digest it, body can absorb it. And that soluble fiber is very, very important for us to keep us full for a period of time. Do you know these days we always talk about small, frequent meals? So eat like a small portion and eat every 2 hours. But Ayurvedically, this is not good at all. Because what happens when you eat the food, your insulin is taking your blood sugar and storing it in the liver or in the muscle. But after 2 hours, when your blood sugar goes down, how body compensate with that? All your stored blood sugar is converted from glucagon into glucose again by the another enzyme called glucagon. And that two-way street has to be continuously happening. What we do every 2 hours we eat. So your insulin is overworked and it is just taking the sugar from the blood, storing it in the muscle. But that stored blood sugar never gets a chance to become a blood sugar if you end up eating every 2 hours. So you should not be munching the food all the time. So this soluble fiber helps in this way that it makes you full for a long period of time. You don't feel hungry even if you see the box of candy or cookie or something. You don't feel like just picking it up and putting in your mouth because you feel so full. So your body is telling you, I don't need any food. I'm still processing what you ate before. So that is a good way of helping us to not munch, not to overeat, and to have this fiber which helps us to lower our blood sugar and not to spike it up. So it has multiple benefits.
So the one thing I'd love to address, because we're talking a lot about our sugar not spiking, let's
Yeah.
just talk about that a little bit. Why is it so important to have the glucose released slowly and to keep our sugar slowly climbing and not rapidly? What is the importance of the glycemic index, if you will, because all foods have that, but what is the importance of keeping that sugar in a nice even keel?
It's a very good question. Glucose is body uses it as an energy or as a fuel. You know, for our car, when we start driving the car, we need to put the gas in the car. The same way we eat all these foods because these foods have energy in it. And when the carbs are broken down, they break down into glucose. And some of the vital organs in our body, including our brain, can use the fuel or the energy only in the form of glucose. So we just cannot completely not eat complex carb. You cannot eat no carb diet. You have to eat some amount of complex carb or some complex carb diet. Because do you remember like few years ago, everybody was talking about Atkins diet, eat only protein and completely avoid carb in it. And then people realized that people were getting their kidney was in kind of the problem, then the brain doesn't get enough sugar and enough energy and all that. So it is very important that we maintain that sugar at a certain level. Generally, for so many years, the range of normal blood sugar was 80 and 120. But these days, because the obesity rate is increasing, they are lowering the normal range to between 80 and 100. And they are labeling people having blood sugar between 100 and 120 as a pre-diabetic. But actually, if you can maintain your blood sugar between 80 and 120, you are good because body uses sugar as an energy. But second thing, if your blood sugar rises beyond 120, suppose it goes to 170, 200, 500 and all that, so your blood becomes like a sugar syrup. Okay, it becomes very thick. And we have these tiniest of the capillaries supplying the blood to the fingertips, tip of our nose, to our eyes, to our kidneys. So when these arteries become so narrow, they become capillaries, then that thick blood with sugar syrup cannot flow through those tiniest of the capillaries. Then what is the end result? All those things, your fingertips, your toes, do not get enough blood. They do not get enough nutrients. Same thing with happens people who have diabetes. Their vision deteriorates. They have kidney issues and all that because kidneys stop functioning. Your vision becomes weak. Your toes and fingers do not get enough blood. That's why sometimes people get gangrene and they need to amputate their fingers or their toes or sometimes even their feet. So it is very important that there has to be the normal or perfect range of blood sugar in your blood sugar in the blood because body needs energy it given in the form of sugar, but it should not be too high. It should not be too low either because sometimes people take these insulin injections and the sugar goes very very low and they become hypoglycemic and that also causes the problem. So it is very important to maintain that golden range of your blood sugar, not to increase it and not to decrease it. And that's why it depends on us what we eat, what kind of foods we put in our system. Is it very processed or is it the whole grain? Does it have more of the fiber, soluble fiber, and all that? So there is so much kind of goes in the nutrition education, which is benefiting our health.
So we're talking a little bit about sugar, and then we're going to get back to grains. I know you and I could talk forever. I know, obviously, when we drink juice, it's just pure sugar, and our things skyrocket. And then I know when we eat a whole fruit, your sugar slowly goes up because, like you said, there's the fiber in it. There's, it's a whole fruit. What I would like to ask, because this is another common question, because we're talking also, obviously, about digestion and our enzymes. Some people believe that if you mixed fruit with carbs, I'm saying, because obviously fruit, and that's the other thing people need to understand. Fruit, when you digest it, turns into a carb, so that's important to know. However, a lot of people think mixing fruits, because it digests so quickly and differently, if we mix that, for example, with our rich whole grain meal, that causes misdigestion issues. What is your thoughts on combining fruits with your food, or should they be eaten separately?
Okay. Ayurvedically, food should not be eaten with the meals or with your other foods. So fruit you can eat as a snack. Generally, Ayurvedically, we recommend 3 meals: light breakfast, good lunch, and light dinner. And those are the 3 meals. And you can see the beauty or the knowledge about that every meal is separated by 5 to 6 hours. You should be eating breakfast in the morning around 7 to 8 o'clock. Your lunch should be between noon and 1. Your dinner should be around 6 o'clock in the evening and all. So there are 5 to 6 hours in between meals. And hey, Carly, do you know how much time does it take to digest, to pass the food through your whole digestive system? About 5 to 6 hours. And that's why it is very important to eat only those 3 meals. And in between, you can eat a fruit. Because fruit doesn't need, because it is mainly the sweet, so it doesn't need so much energy, so many digestive enzymes. So she should not be combining fruit with your breakfast or your lunch or dinner.
And see, I'm glad you said that, because there's so much miscommunication about that. And as you and I know fruit takes very little less time. It doesn't take 5 to 6 hours to digest the fruit. Therefore, you can do your 3 meals. And if you do get hungry, you can eat your fruit. Here's the thing people need to remember. When you eat a whole fruit, like when I eat an apple, I mean, it fills you right up, because that whole apple does have the fiber and everything. And like your separate carb meal, which we're going to talk about, the grains, does fill you up. That whole apple or that whole piece of fruit, not juice, the whole fruit really does fill you. So now let's get back to, everything's kind of, intertwined here. So I wanted to address those questions because they're important. Let's talk about now grains. For example, white rice versus brown rice, and like barley. Why is, and there's so many other amazing grains. There's quinoa and kamut and amaranth, and let's address like which ones are more low glycemic and which ones are a better balanced meal. Obviously we're talking apples and oranges here. However, there are some that really aren't good for you. So let's get into the grains.
Okay. So since we are slowly kind of talking mainly because we are creating, VedaFoods are all about diabetic friendly foods, or they are ideal for sugar conscious people. So in VedaFoods, mainly we have added the grain. Main theme is the barley. And I will tell you the benefits of barley, because barley, the first thing, it has the lowest glycemic index. Second thing, and we talked about lowest glycemic index because glycemic index from 0 to 55 is considered kind of low glycemic index. And that rises your blood sugar very gently, which is ideal for diabetic people. Second thing is barley has a soluble fiber. We talked about insoluble and soluble fiber. Soluble fiber is better because it digests food very slowly and keeps us full, which is also beneficial in obesity because people want to lose weight. So if they incorporate some of these grains which have soluble fiber in it, will also help them to feel full, and they will not munch and put so many things in their system. The third thing about the barley, that soluble fiber, it is called, I just forgot the name, beta-glucan, and that's why it is good not only for diabetes but also reducing cholesterol, reducing the weight gain, reducing atherosclerosis, and definitely it is good for diabetes. So there are so many benefits for this. And do you know, Carly, Ayurveda, the 5,000-year-old science, recommended barley. They said make any product with barley and consume that. It is especially beneficial for diabetic people. And that's what we picked, that me being the Ayurvedic doctor and seeing all these benefits of barley, and our modern medicine and science also kind of supporting what Ayurveda has been saying. That's what we incorporate barley in many of Veda foods. There are also so many other good grains for diabetes. Is, for example, quinoa. Quinoa has become very popular, and it has all the 9 amino acids, so it is a complete protein. And that's why overall the protein in quinoa is a little higher than many of the grains. and it also has kind of that nutty texture to that. So a lot of people just love quinoa. It is also gluten free. So people who are allergic to gluten and all sensitive to gluten, they can eat quinoa. Another good herb for the grain, good for that is buckwheat and amaranth, and there is one more called finger millet. Millet, amaranth are coming back again because people are searching for different grains. And all these grains are high in protein, high in minerals, and all that. So they're beneficial for our health. Ayurveda also has described one more grain. One more grain, it is called ragi. And that ragi is a part of millet, but it is called finger millet. And ragi is excellent for diabetes. It is the best and richest source of natural calcium and minerals, which is beneficial for osteoporosis and osteopenia and people having any bone related problems. So ragi is good to lose weight, ragi is good for diabetes, ragi is good for calcium support, ragi is good for minerals and all that. So all these natural grains are so rich and they provide energy to the body, and they also help us to digest food slowly, so they're beneficial in diabetes and doesn't spike up your blood sugar.
So okay, I can't wait to do the blog post on this show because there's going to be so many rich nuggets of information in there. Like, for example, you just told me a new grain I did not know, which is the one you just mentioned, the one that's a part of millet. That's, and I myself love incorporating grains. As a matter of fact, I just bought a multi-cooker, but it's the original, like, old ancient system. It's clay. And so I can make barley in it, I can make quinoa in it, and there's some grains I've been wanting to play with, but I just haven't. So I'm exploring amaranth, and so I have two more grains I'd like to ask you about. And so, have you ever heard of teff, T-E-F-F, and kamut? So what are those two? Are those two also, like, for example, I love the red quinoa because it's got a nuttier flavor than the regular quinoa, or sometimes I'll blend them together. And I love barley, and I think barley is the great, by the way, for me anyway, what I'll do is I make different batches of things, and I don't put any flavoring in them right away. So that way I can change the flavor. So like in the morning, I love doing grains in the morning. So I'll do barley in the morning, or quinoa. And if you add cinnamon or cinnamon in those grains are fabulous for a morning breakfast. So if anyone's tired of oatmeal, and I do want to ask you about oatmeal because we talked about 3 solid meals in Ayurveda, and oatmeal, oat brands are considered something to have soluble, have the fibers, and are supposed to keep you full. So, but let's get back to grains, and then I do want to address quality grains for breakfast, because I will use the quinoa and barley for breakfast, and a lot of people don't think of grains as a substitution of oatmeal every day, for example. So what are some benefits or qualities of teff and kamut?
Okay, kamut, I need to just do some research on that. I'm not very familiar about that. But teff, I definitely know. And have you been to any Ethiopian restaurant? Because they make like those flats, very soft flat breads called injiras, and that is mainly made of teff. And teff also is a gluten-free grain, so that is very beneficial for a lot of people who are allergic to gluten. And also it has a lot of minerals and vitamins in it. So it is also very rich grain. So people, you can incorporate in your daily routine. Generally, grains take about like 20 to 30 minutes to cook. So it is slow process, and hardly many times what happens, people don't have time, especially in the morning. They have to rush to their work and all that. So they always feel like, why do I have to work so hard and I don't have half an hour to just sit and cook all my grains. But if they plan ahead of time, and that is the beauty about Veda food, because in Veda food we have kept the whole grain, but it is in the kind of coarse grain in it. That's why it cooks very easily. Literally, Veda foods can be cooked within 5 to 7 minutes. And when you are eating freshly food, it is rich in that life energy and prana and all that. And me being the Ayurvedic doctor, I know the secret of adding the right amount and the thing of all the six tastes in the food. So it's not only the black pepper, it's not only cinnamon or not only sugar, but it has the combination of all those six tastes and they are very balancing to the body. So the food becomes very delicious and tasty and very low in calories and nourishing you and keeping your blood sugar in normal limits and all that. So what else do you want?
Oh, I'm really excited. And next episode, we are definitely going to talk about specifically the VedaFoods line of barley products that have coming out. So I'm really excited about that. I just really want to talk about an overall grains because everybody's confused. And I think also we'll probably do a small segment on gluten-free because I knew about quinoa, but I didn't know anything about teff. So I think it'd be really good to give people some Ayurvedic tips and tools on what grains and foods would be really good for them, that are the people that are genuinely gluten-free. So I would love also now to get people to talk about the importance of 3 meals. What are some, oh wait, I just want to say one more thing. With modern technology too, people are saying, like you said, I don't have time. There's technology, the slow cookers or the timers where you put, like you soak the beans or whatever it is overnight, and then you set it to go on at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning. So for me, I don't really buy the excuse anymore that people don't have time because if you really want to work at your health, there's always a way. Never ever give up, and there's always a way if you really want to take charge of your health. And I am super excited that your product is coming out because it does only take 5 minutes for those people that really are just beyond busy. But I do encourage people also to look into these clay, just get creative and find ways of, working on your health.
Because I always tell people to use all these new gadgets because they make our life so much easier. For example, a rice cooker. Just add your ingredients, add water and oil, and just don't even look at it. Within 10-15 minutes, delicious food is ready for you to consume, and your whole house will be full of that aroma. So instead of eating all that canned food and processed foods and frozen foods and all, people should be thinking about all these things. Even this rice cooker has come up with a timer. So you set the time, start the cooker at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the evening. So by the time you reach home, a delicious fresh food is ready for you to consume. So it is not that difficult, but first thing you have to have that thought that I want to eat fresh food. I want to eat nutritious food because you are what you eat and what you digest. So every time you see when you have expensive car and it says super unleaded gasoline only, and you make sure that you pay like more money to fill your car with the super unleaded gasoline, right? So you take good care of yourself, but what about you? So don't put all that junk food and processed food and canned food in your system because that food is becoming you. Carly, one time I heard it's kind of the puzzle. What is that? It's not you becomes you. It's the food. Food, when it is ready, it's not, you haven't consumed it yet. It's not you, but when you eat it, all that food builds your blood and becomes your skin and becomes your muscle and becomes your bone and all. And that's what you put in your system, what you eat, how you eat, where you eat, when you eat, with a peaceful mind and meditative state and all that. It's all makes so much sense and that affects your health very positively. So I and you urge all our listeners to make their choice to eat fresh food, add all these whole grains in their diet and in their foods and all, add lots of vegetables, make the meal very balanced with some protein, good quality fat. We talked about a couple of weeks ago about the ghee and oils and coconut oil and all that. So incorporate all those mega nutrients, macronutrients in the food, add vegetables, eat a fruit in between your meals and all that, and let your body digest that. This is really like doing like a firework, and body digest it well and you become more healthy.
So I'm also going to put out there too, and next time we're going to be talking about her cookbook that she has. It's kind of being re-edited right now, and I can't wait for people to get a hold of that as well. So the last thing I want to talk about, because I know you and I literally could talk forever, and I don't want to overwhelm people, is let's give people some healthy grains to do for breakfast. Because like I said, I will make it. You can even make it ahead of time, and all you're doing the next morning is warming it up. So what are some good breakfast grains besides, what are your thoughts on oatmeal?
Oatmeal is a good grain, and especially it has been benefited a lot of people to reduce their cholesterol and all that. But oatmeal is not the only grain that everybody should think about, because there are so many other grains which we talked about. Amaranth is good. Then millet also is a good choice for that. Or people can eat barley. They can use teff. Teff is very different. It has different texture. We also have one product with quinoa. Quinoa tastes really good. It has that kind of texture. You can chew on it and you will enjoy that flavor. So instead of eating only a oatmeal, you can try these different grains and see, because every grain has something unique to offer. There are some different amino acids. They have a different amount of protein in the food. They have different amount of fiber in the food. And that's what, when you incorporate these different grains, your body is getting the goodness of all these different grains.
So I'm really excited to do this blog talk. I'm sorry, not blog talk. I'm really excited to do the blog post. And yes, this will air in blog talk. However, I'm looking forward to writing it up so I can incorporate all the tips and tools. And then, of course, I will put together the podcast and the video, as I always do. I love hearing from people the questions. I actually do. You know, some of these questions I'm asking have actually been asked about. So that's why I'm asking you.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we encourage people to send us questions, and I get inbox personally a lot about, because they know I'm doing this with you, and they're like, well, have her talk about this and have her talk about this, and you know how passionate I am about health and food, and so I'm learning so much too. I mean, I always learn more from you, so it's wonderful. So thank you so much for joining me today. We love bringing you exciting content that is just about, you know, feeling your body to be healthy and to care about your body. It's the only one that you have. So we wish everybody a wonderful day, and we wish everyone health. And thank you so much for joining me once again. You can find Dr. J. Apte at hnwellness.com, and you can also go to VedaFoods.com, and that's VedaFoods.com, and that's where they'll be launching this beautiful barley line that only takes 5 minutes to cook. And then hnwellness.com, you can find all sorts of wonderful articles from Dr. J and wonderful just tips and recipes and information about your Veda and health. It's a wonderful resource, just with so much information. And so anyways, we will see you next week, and you can always find me at carlylyssathorne.com. And that's it for today. So thank you, everybody.